Good day. My name is Warren. I'm here today with Karina Linde from Negotia Labour Practitioners. Hi, Karina.
Hi, Warren.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
We at Negotia Labour Practitioners provide HR and IR services for employers, mainly in the Potchefstroom and surrounding areas, but we also offer services across the whole of South Africa.
Awesome. So you've joined us today because you're going to talk to us about the national minimum wage. Let's dive right into the presentation. Okay, so national minimum wage. I see we've got an introduction screen and a definition, what the current rate is and the purpose. Can you tell us a bit more?
This contentious piece of legislation, as you said, there, it's to protect workers and to reduce poverty. That is the aim of this act. It's applicable to all employers. You may apply for an exemption as an employer, but it's only granted by the Department of Employment and Labour if certain criteria is met. The current rate for the national minimum wage is 27 Rand 58 cents per hour, and that is then annually reviewed. So in early February next year, we will hear what the new rate will be.
Okay, so that's just a brief introduction to the national minimum wage. But obviously, who does it apply to?
Yes, it applies to all employees, including domestic and farm workers as well. For the past few years, all employees earn exactly the same national minimum wage. When it was first introduced, there was a sliding scale and a different scales for farm workers and domestics, but that has now been brought up to the level of all employees. Exemptions, as you put there, is learnerships, but interestingly enough, the South African National Defence Force, our Secret Service and intelligence agencies are also excluded from this Wage Act, and also important, especially for our NPOs or our NGOs, is volunteers need not earn the national minimum wage.
Okay, it's funny that we mentioned domestic workers. Does that include garden workers, things like that?
Yes, when we refer to domestic workers, we usually include garden workers as well.
Okay, so I'm looking further down the screen and I see we have to keep record of wages and hours worked. How does it work if I've got a domestic worker? Um, Tell me a bit more about that.
Okay. It's a legislative requirement, uh, as stated in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Section 31, that particularly requires from an employer to keep records of, among others, the time worked by an employee. That means an attendance register, basically, and then also the remuneration paid to each employee or to your employee on a monthly or a weekly or a daily basis. So those are the two most important parts relating to record keeping. And should you ever be visited by an inspector of the Department of Employment and Labour, those will be the two things that they mainly focus on.
Okay, and then also I see another bullet point, updates and annual reviews. Where would one see these types of updates and reviews?
Usually in February, you can't read a financial page or anything to do with the Department of Employment and Labour or any labour consultancy or HR firm that will not show you these new rates as they become available. So that information is widely available on the internet. You can Google it. And if there's any other updates, it is published in at least the media so
But
that
you
everybody
you
is
make it
aware.
quite easy because you also put it on all of your social media platforms, don't you?
Yes, I follow suit and we provide that to all our clients.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, next slide. Consequences of non-compliance. This doesn't sound too good.
No, it's not. Should you be found non-compliant by the Department of Employment and Labour, they will issue you a compliance order. If you still do not comply with the compliance order, they may approach other forums such as the CCMA and take it up to arbitration so that they can get an arbitration award. Usually you are fined if you're non-compliant. It's either, it depends on which amount is the greater amount, but it's either the difference on the underpayment that was not made to the employee or the monthly salary. And there are specific formulas that they look at. So it is quite a big financial implication. And you do not want to be known as an employer who is not compliant. So it is damaging to your reputation, and your employees can no longer trust you either.
Okay. And then the role of negotiate labor relations, obviously you assist with wage laws and the national minimum wage. But I think for the average Joe or the average business owner, the regular South African, we mostly work with, let's say, domestic workers. What other services, how can you help someone be compliant? What services do you provide?
Part of the compliance process, not only looking just at the wages, is looking to see whether the employment contract is compliant. Is it drawn up in terms of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act? We also annually provide employees with the updates as they become available, as I already said, on all our social media. So if you're not sure about how to calculate the salary on a monthly basis or whatever, we can provide you with the information regarding that as well. On the whole, we can make sure that you are completely compliant for a Department of Labour inspection, whether you are a small business, medium, whether you are a private household with just a domestic or a garden worker. We provide the services to ensure that you are compliant.
Okay, so that's quite a nice package of what the national minimum wage is. Also with regards to domestic workers in South Africa, and how one approaches that compliance. So we want to thank you very much for presenting this to us. If anyone wants to get hold of Karina, her contact details are on the page as we speak. And then, Karina, just tell us a little bit more about the outsourced services that Negotia offers, if you may.
Okay. As I said previously, we provide services to small, medium, and micro enterprise businesses mainly. We also cater for private households if it's domestic or garden workers that we need to attend to. Basically, across the whole HR life cycle, we can assist employers as much or as little as they require. So anything from recruiting the employee, making sure that their contract is in place, onboarding them, giving them induction, workplace training. Then we move over to discipline if it's necessary, policies and procedures for the workplace. And in some instances, we do disciplinary hearings, and we even help with CCMA matters as well.
Thank you once again, Karina. We appreciate your time and your valuable advice. I just want to mention to the viewers to watch out for our next videos, where we'll be discussing discipline in the workplace, employment work contracts, and then also harassment. Thank you, Karina. We'll talk again soon.
Just a pleasure.